I am Noriko Ballful, and this is Uncut News. Before we begin tonight's episode, I would like to invite you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and give the video a thumbs up so we could trick YouTube into thinking that it deserves to go viral. New parliamentarian Christopher Jones has filed legal proceedings against the state for what he claims was his unlawful arrest as well as the seizure of barbershop equipment by the police force. Jones is seeking damages in excess of $100,000 each for his wrongful arrest, trespass on his property, and the seizure of 18 barber chairs and 2 AC units. He said that the items are valued at $4.8 million, and he has asked the court to order that they be returned to him. He also wants the court to declare that his constitutional rights were violated in the process of the asset seizure and subsequent arrest. Despite encouraging Jones to approach the courts if he felt wronged, Nandalal wants the High Court to throw out the suit, calling it, quote, frivolous and vexatious. Which I feel is ironic because that's how I describe both the government and the opposition. Ministers Ben and Dr. Frank Anthony visited the Lusignan prison on Saturday in response to the unrest after 2 inmates tested positive for the Rona. However, they fled the prison after some prisoners began to throw objects at them, but the situation deteriorated even further into violence after several inmates attempted to escape, resulting in police fatally shooting 2 and injuring 5. The dead prisoners have been identified as 51-year-old Earl Graham and 21-year-old Winston Herbert. The injured inmates are all listed in stable condition. Over the weekend, the police announced the arrest of 6 men in connection with the murder of Isaiah and Joel Henry. At least 5 of the men in custody were confirmed to have been last seen with the teens, whose mutilated bodies were discovered on September 6. However, the police have yet to announce any arrests of any suspects in connection with the murder of Harish Singh. You there, bumpy-faced person! Don't you think it's time you do something about those blockheads? This premium blockhead remover vacuum can help. Get it delivered to you in Georgetown, Bubbies, or Linden. Call Triple B's on telephone number 682-8326 or visit them on Facebook. Triple B's Enterprise, remember the name. In a completely unsurprising move, the current government has found a way to use the 2020 budget to scam taxpayers for their own luxury transportation and make the opposition look bad, all at the same time. Today, Gail Teixeira announced that $95 million will go to buy new vehicles for top officials, including the President, Prime Minister, and Vice President. Teixeira said that the purchases had to be made urgently, as the former government supposedly left the vehicles in such a damaged state. Which is rich people talk, for they dirtied up the floors and the leather doesn't smell new anymore. The opposition immediately took issue with it and asked for more details regarding the purchase. But Teixeira rejected their complaints, saying that the public will know all about it next year, well after the cars have already been bought and probably used. Despite reminding viewers not to drink and drive every Friday night, fatalities on Guyana's roadways have increased by some 42% during the period of January 1st to September 14th, 2020, when compared to the corresponding period last year. This is according to the Home Affairs Ministry. As expected, the largest categories of fatalities is among young people at 17 to 42 years old and, of course, motorcyclists. Even less surprising, the majority of accidents occur on Saturdays and Sundays between 6 p.m. and midnight. And of course, finally, speeding and drunk driving are the leading causes of fatal accidents on the country's roadways. So people, stop drinking and driving. Before demitting office in August, former Public Security Minister Ramjatan directly issued 61% of all firearm licenses approved in 2020 without the engaging of the Firearm Licensing Board. Current Home Affairs Minister Brockdown Ben made the troubling revelation during Parliament today. There is actually a 3-step process for licensing, and the minister is only supposed to give his final stamp of approval after the application has been reviewed by the Firearm Licensing Board. But obviously that was not going on this year. In news from the diaspora, last Friday, Umesh Prasad met his demise in a tragic and bizarre car accident as he was waiting for the bus. Prasad, also called Fatman, of Jamaica, Queens, and originally from Tamere, was waiting for the bus near a car wash when a 64-year-old employee of the establishment lost control of a customer's SUV. The vehicle reportedly jumped the curb and slammed directly into Prasad. He reportedly died on the spot, while the 64-year-old driver was hospitalized. The accident occurred on Atlantic Avenue and Milford Street in East New York, Brooklyn. FinCEN is Guyana's #1 auto dealer. They bring fresh stocks every week and sell a variety of vehicles to suit any class of citizen, even local used. Visit them at Lot 9 Crawler Street, Georgetown, or call them on telephone number 231-8451. FinCEN Auto Sales. It's your turn to drive. Now, let's take a look at news in the region and around the world. One family in Petite Valley, Trinidad, is probably thanking the good Lord for giving them fast and nosy neighbors after they narrowly avoided a possible home invasion last night. Around 8 p.m., residents of the area saw 3 men they didn't recognize exit a vehicle close to the house in question. They kept watching as they saw 2 of the young men jump a wall into someone's yard. They immediately began yelling and even honking a car horn to deter the suspects. The men immediately fled the scene. Police are currently reviewing CCTV footage, which identified 2 of the men as they returned to the getaway vehicle. Jamaican children are returning to school on a phased basis beginning October 5th, based on a vulnerability index and risk ranking measure. The original date to reopen schools was pushed back from September 7th as the country started experiencing a surge in cases and deaths from the Rona. The plan involves varied approaches, including full face-to-face class engagement, a hybrid scenario that is face-to-face and remote learning, as well as a full remote learning exercise. A secret trove of files documenting illicit banking activity between corrupt regimes, governments, and banks across the Western world has been leaked by investigative journalists. Analysts of more than 2,500 reports, dubbed the FinCEN files, show some of the world's biggest banks, including HSBC and Standard Chartered, reportedly let criminals and fraudsters move dirty money amounting to $2 trillion around the world, allowing Ponzi schemes, terrorist outfits, and notorious mobsters to launder their money through the institutions. Yes, all of these big reputable banks, all of them that called us criminals and drug dealers, they too are the money launderers themselves. And on that, before you ask, yes, of course we were on that list. At least one large questionable transaction was made through Republic Bank in 2010, and that was among the files. If there are any more, I'm really not sure at this point because it's 2,500 files, I don't have the time. Are you thinking of investing in a pyramid scheme? Don't! There is a legit way you could earn some extra cash to supplement your existing hustle. Sell Top-Up. You could become a top-up vendor quick and easy by linking Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info. And now for our weird news story of the day. 12 sustainable urinals were installed in Amsterdam this week. The Green Pea, invented by Richard de Vries, is a combination of a planter and a urinal, which can collect up to 300 liters of urine that, after processing, is reused as fertilizer and good quality water, according to Dutch newspapers. 12 Green Pea urinals were placed in the entertainment district in Amsterdam this week. The idea is to give public urinators a more attractive option than an alleyway. The Green Pea is a brightly colored flower planter with a urinal attached to it. Amsterdam got an improved version with added privacy screens for when you need to pee in public but you don't want people seeing your willy. The Green Pea is completely sustainable as it uses no water. The urine is collected in a container with odor-absorbing hemp fiber. Once full, the tank is switched out for an empty one. Moving on to our Uncut News viewers poll question of the day. Every day, we pose a question about current events in Guyana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it relates to us. So, you give your responses in the comments, and we'll read the best ones in the following episode. Friday's question was, should we pick a side in this whole Venezuela versus the US thing? And Sharon Davis said, "We should keep our noses in our own story and leave the neighbors alone, just like I like to live in my house." Gambino said, "The United States and Venezuela controversy is much bigger than us. We simply don't have the military resources to be taking sides, much less be talking about it. The United States has their own agenda. I suggest we stay neutral and collect money both ways." Adam Prasad says, "We live in a global society these days, and I think Guyana has an obligation to its next door neighbor and the wider community, so definitely Guyana should have to take a side." And finally, Leah Cole said, "Guyanese are caring and accommodating to a fault. We've lived with Venezuela's bullying for most of our lives. Finally, we can bring our big bro to kick the bully's arse. Ring the bell, Noriko, and let the dogs out." You can let the dogs out. I'm alright over here. But good answers, people. It sounds like it's very varied. Very varied. Nonetheless, I loved all the answers. So tonight I leave you with a question that is a little more lighthearted than usual, but it is still an issue. Just like colon, public urination is a common and unsightly problem. They are rolling out the use of compostable public urinals in Amsterdam. Do you think the government should try to do the same thing here, or should we try some other method? Think about that question and tell us in the comments below. If your response is good, we just might feature it in Tuesday's episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight. Check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Noriko Bullford saying good night, folks. Hey Uncut News viewers, thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking on this button over here, or click over there for more news. You can also drop a comment to let me know if you've made it to the end of the video. Goodbye for now!